Welcome to the June edition of A Day in the House. I'm your host, State Representative Michael Day, and I thank you for joining us again on this pretty close to monthly talk show where we meet with stakeholders in the state as well as the local communities to talk about issues of the day. With me today, I'm very, very happy to welcome two representatives of our local chambers of commerce. Cathy Alexander, who's the Executive Director of the Winchester Chamber of Commerce, and Senna, who's the President of the Stoneham Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to read a quick bio of both of you, shame you a little bit, and then we'll get talking about what we can do in these communities. So Senna is partner with the Stoneham-based real estate developer and investor, Middlesex Investment Partners. In that role, Chris primarily focuses on the evaluation of potential acquisitions and on lease negotiation. He received a BA in history from Holy Cross and an MBA from Georgetown. Chris serves as the president of Stoneham Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors and on the executive committee of the board of the Italian Home for Children in Jamaica Plain. Cathy Alexander received her bachelor's in early childhood education from Tufts University. In the 1970s, she co-founded the Winchester Neighbors Club, which works to enable new and established residents to connect with their community through social and philanthropic activities. She's currently the executive director of the Winchester Chamber of Commerce. So Cathy, welcome.
Thank you.
And good to see you both. Thank you both
Thanks,
for coming
Mike.
over to stop into the humble little show here. So I wanted to start off, obviously you both occupy different roles at the respective chambers of commerce. And just invite you both to talk about what you do at the Chamber of Commerce, how you got involved, and what your roles require. So I don't know if you want to start with Chris's.
Sure. Well, I got involved, Mike. I'd been working for other companies for about 10 years or so and came back to our family business. And the expectation was when I came back, hey, you're going to get involved in the community, you're going to spend time, you're going to volunteer, you're going to get to know what's going on. And so we slowly got involved with the chamber. Actually, the family had been members of the chamber for over 30 years, but I slowly got involved, going to events, and then eventually led to the board and then the presidency.
Great. Cathy.
As the executive director, my role is very different than Chris's. I became the executive director. First, I became the assistant to the director of the Chamber of Commerce. And when my predecessor left, I interviewed for the job. And at that point, Henry Quill, God rest his soul, was the president. And he hired me. And I guess my career from that time till now mainly centers around the people that I work with. The Chamber Board of Directors and the Chamber members are the most incredibly giving, unselfish people in our community. And it's because the people that I continue to stay. And I love every minute of working with the business people and working with the directors that really are such incredible people. They just want to give back to the community. And that makes my job very easy.
That's great. And actually kind of dovetails into the next area I wanted to talk about. What do you guys do? What does the chamber do? And I mean, obviously, I know, having worked with both of you, how integral the chamber is to both of our communities, but can you talk about what the chamber does in our community, for our community?
I will start. The main goal for the Winchester Chamber of Commerce is to provide a really good economic climate for the businesses. And what we really aim to do is also make the whole center area attractive for our residents and our visitors. So many years ago, we took on the task of beautifying the center. And we have done that at the holidays. We totally take on the lighting of the center. And now that's 12 months a year. We keep those lights going.
Yep.
And we've had so many compliments of people that walk down in the center in the summer and see the white lights. It really is much more inviting. And then right now, I must give a plug, we are looking for donations for the hanging baskets. The hanging baskets were just put up last week. They are beyond description, thanks to Mahoney's. But the chamber is the source of fundraising, The amount of money that we need is close to $15,000 to pay for mostly the watering of the hanging baskets. But we believe that it really is worth it.
Yeah.
And makes Winchester such an attractive place to visit and to shop and to do business.
Yeah, I'll tell you, on that end, some of my colleagues are remarking with envy about our downtown here
Yes.
in Winchester. They really are.
Thank
I mean,
you.
it's really well done, it's beautiful. And that kind of turns into Stoneham.
Yeah,
and the work you've been doing over there.
Yeah, I
Chris.
would say there's 3 or 4 key pillars that we have as part of the Stoneham Chamber. The first is obviously networking. We have a monthly event at someone's business, and then obviously there are other events, golf tournaments and such. Then we have professional development. So you might go to a one-day how to use social media type learning environment. And then there's also community building. So we're responsible for Town Day. We're responsible for the summer concert series. So there's 3 or 4 things that I think we're very busy in town. It keeps our executive director very busy. She only has 1 part-time staff person that helps her. So we're active in those ways.
Yeah, and I know, as I've said before, I have the privilege of working closely with both chambers. And I know the voice that you both bring to the table is hugely valuable to me as a state rep, but also I think to our towns. In Stoneham, we've got the downtown kind of redevelopment initiative that's been ongoing for a few years now. That's really starting to pick up steam now with the chamber's active involvement.
Yeah, I would say, Mike, that never before have I seen in the 30 years or so that my family's been in Stoneham with a business, the amount of energy in resident groups. So whether it's the transportation group,
Yeah.
it's the neighborhood group that's doing events on the town common, or the merchants group in Stoneham Square. I think Stoneham's sort of at a point where we're really starting to push and move in great ways. I mean, as you know, we expanded the bus service. So there's a lot going on, and I think the chamber's a significant part of that.
Yeah, and I think same in Winchester. I mean, when we're talking about what the downtown looks like, that takes a lot of work to get there. But there's a lot of behind the scenes and grunt work, for lack of a better term, that we've been doing here in this town for a long time, Cathy.
Correct.
Including the kind of reimagining and redesign of this MBTA station, which people are always saying,
yes.
it'll happen, but we've got some money in place now, guarantees from the state, and we're moving forward. We've got fairly significant developments on the design in that, and I know the chamber's been at every meeting that I've been at to have some input from the business community on that.
We are, obviously, my chamber office is part of the former railroad station.
Yeah.
So at every meeting I go to, I always ask one of the reps who's available, now when do you think this is going to happen? So I'm going to ask you, Michael Day, when do you think this is going to happen? And I'm going to have to move.
Yeah, next year.
Oh, next year.
Next year,
Are
shovels in the
you
ground.
sure?
Well, nothing's ever sure with the
Okay,
state.
I won't pin you
We just
down.
broke ground on the Tri-Community Bikeway, which is
Yeah,
going to unite
great.
Stoneham
Yes,
and Winchester.
so wonderful.
But that took only about 30 years, I think.
Mm-hmm.
We were at the groundbreaking, and we had 4 state reps that have been involved with the project, from Whip Saltmarsh through Paul Casey,
amazing.
Jason Lewis, and myself.
Yeah.
So it shows you how quickly the state can move when we
Yes.
dedicate it. But
We know that.
What
We've
does
got-
that entail, the train station? Is it just the Winchester set? Is it Winchester Center or Wedgemere as well?
Winchester
or-
Center.
Yeah.
So if you walk by at the Pigeon Sanctuary, you've got literally fallen concrete, and it's been deteriorating for many years now. And we're in the process of redesigning. I think we're at the 30% stage now, which is a significant jump from where we were. I've gone back to the drawing board a few times on that end. And the capital improvement plan that the state just released included the Winchester Commuter Station, which is a big step forward for us. But the current plan is pretty exciting, I think. Entirely redesigning that station. We're going to have elevators. We're going to have, the ramps will be moved. And the chamber building, as you said, will be moving as well.
Right, so obviously that is a small part of it, but I think the bigger part is what every chamber deals with on a daily basis is parking.
Yep.
I know it's sort of like an overused term, but yeah, what are we going to do?
Right. And there are different options we're talking about now on the state level to help out as well. Different areas of state property that we can potentially deck, for example, to provide more parking for our businesses. And I know Winchester's had a particularly acute problem with that, given the popularity of the downtown. So it's one of those be careful what you wish for
Exactly,
issues
exactly.
that Stoneham is going to be encountering fairly soon too.
Yeah, well, one thing I was going to add, Mike, is that The disadvantage that Stoneham has, unfortunately, is that we're surrounded by communities that have rail service. We're the only one, whether it's Woburn or Reading or Melrose or Wakefield or Winchester. And so, we've continued to advocate, and you know this, Mike, that we need to expand bus service. It's the only way to continue to compete. And so that's very important to Stoneham, and it's a differentiator, and not in a great way, because Stoneham doesn't have rail.
Yeah, I equate it a lot to a spike or a spoke on the wheel, right? I mean, every other community seems around us has the bus and the commuter rail. Winchester's fortunate to have 2 stops with buses that service it. Stoneham's almost in this one little spoke out there. And so what I've been working towards with the chambers is a public-private partnership of getting a shuttle bus service to unite Melrose with Stoneham and Winchester, so that these spokes are now united in getting folks back and forth. I think the Tri-Community Bikeway will help with that, getting people from Stoneham to get over to Winchester and vice versa. And hopefully that will do the same with our kind of burgeoning healthcare corridor that we've got down Montvale Ave going into Woburn as well, that Winchester Hospital plays a significant role in. So I think there are a lot of synergies we can take advantage of moving forward in our communities here. So what's the general makeup of the chamber? If you can answer that.
Well, we're primarily a chamber of small businesses. There's no doubt about that. One thing that limits us is that we don't have the very large players that can write a check for $5,000 or $10,000 to underwrite an event. So we go to the smaller players that can write a $500 or $1,000 check. Our chamber's, I think you would call it fairly big for the size of Stoneham. There's about 275, close to 300 members, but primarily made up of small businesses, under 10 employees, which I think would be typical of the businesses up and down Main Street in Stoneham.
Winchester's very similar
Yeah.
to Stoneham in that most of our businesses are also small business and can't write big checks. I think there are many people that don't realize that Chamber of Commerces are not given money by the town.
Right.
And I'm always amazed when they think that, aren't we located at Town Hall? We are absolutely not. We are funded totally by memberships and by fundraising alone. And as most people know, it's not so sexy to give money to a chamber.
Right.
And we're constantly trying to think of ways to, in fact, keep those chamber doors open. And one thing I take pride in is that chamber right now has close to 300 members. And as I said, we have the most amazing board of directors. And we don't have any empty storefronts. And as I go around to different communities, my fingers are crossed. I mean, we are most fortunate. We have incredible number of businesses that are varied. Sure, we have a lot of nail salons and insurance, but we've also had, in fact, a new shop just opened called Home, opened by
That's
a
right.
Winchester person, and we are thrilled to have that kind of business for the residents of Winchester, and I think that's what makes it really special. I was meeting with, and I don't mean to dominate, but I met with some retailers the other day, and they were talking to me about the kind of service that they provide. And we have a new shoe salon that opened up, Soldemore, and she said last winter she hand-delivered a pair of boots in the middle of a blizzard to a customer. Now, where else do you get that kind?
Yeah.
That's what Winchester
don't.
Chamber is all about.
Yeah, I think both, and it's funny, I know the challenges you face with not having those giant corporations being able to underwrite these. You have the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce or the North Shore Chamber of Commerce, have these big anchor companies. But I think part of the charm, but more importantly, part of the real benefit, I think, to our chambers are that the people who own these businesses are invested in our communities personally.
Right.
So you know who owns the shoe stores, you know who owns the pizza places and the salons, in the consignment shops.
Right.
And you can actually talk to them about what's important in the town, and they respond. And I think the Chamber does a great job of facilitating that in both towns.
I can tell you, Mike, that from our experience as retail property owners, the types of businesses that call us now for vacant space has significantly changed. There are very few boutiques and clothing stores and
Absolutely right.
bookstores. They simply are not opening. They can't compete with Amazon or others. So we get lots of calls from nail salons and other services. Now you might see a dentist that has a retail storefront. But people ask, why can't we get X or Y in Stoneham Square? Well, it's just simply very difficult to compete. So Winchester is so lucky to have these small businesses, and we need to be doing everything we can to support small business. If Sports Authority and Sears and Macy's can't compete, then certainly the single, mom and pop store, very, very difficult. So certainly a change over the last decade.
Yeah, it is, and I've been, kind of on the front lines of that, the brick and mortar really having challenges staying open in the face of these online competitors.
Yeah.
What can we do as a state? What can we do better? Is there something we can do better to support, for lack of a better term, the mom and pop shops that we want in our downtowns? And that's an easy question, right?
It's a hard,
It's a very difficult
Yeah.
question, and as we all know, for all of those people that are under the age of 40, to get them to get off the internet and into the shops, that's our biggest challenge.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm not sure, whether taxing could help at the state level, but I really am very concerned, as you said, if Sears and Macy's, if the malls are going to falter
Right.
and close, then how are we ever going to stay? And I'm sure it's Stoneham, but Winchester Center, we have an amazing school system. That's number one why people come to Winchester, but it's the center that's number two. And I pray, I don't know how you can at the state level protect the businesses, but that would be my biggest sort of request for you.
My thought, Mike, is that I think for our state reps and state senators to put pressure on the local communities, the local town halls, to ease the burdens of the sort of regulation and zoning process.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone wants to open a little coffee shop, there shouldn't be $1,000 in different fees to get it open. And it shouldn't take 3 or 4 or 5 months. Maybe it should only take a month or two to get those approvals done. Right now, it's still hard to get through. You might have to go to the Board of Appeals and then the Planning Board and then the Selectmen. Really hard for people to navigate, especially who haven't opened a small business before. So I think if we can continue to work with our local town officials to reiterate how important it is to ease that process from the building inspector up to the town administrator, I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, we, and I'll give Governor Baker a lot of credit on this. He introduced the genesis of what became the Municipal Modernization Act last term, which he described as weed whacking, going through a lot of these regulations that may be outdated or onerous for businesses, and certainly for our towns, and giving the towns more freedom. So allowing towns to enter TIFs, tax incentive financing agreements, to develop properties that have been derelict or abandoned or just needed to be refurbed. Those types of things. So we've given, as of last term, I was happy with the work we did on it. Hopefully giving our towns more freedom and kind of taking away the, I don't want to say, but the excuse of, well, we can't do that because the state's requiring us to do all of these sort of actions before we allow that to go forward. Removing some of that red tape, removing some of those regulations to allow these businesses to come in and take a flyer on our downtowns, see what we can't do.
Yeah, I would say certainly too. I'd again encourage you to really push on the MBTA issue for Stoneham. It's a huge one.
Yeah.
It really is a huge one. So.
Well, I think transportation all
For all
around
of us.
Yeah.
is a huge issue. You touched on parking, but I think moving, our transportation picture is changing, right? Ubers come in, ride-sharing apps, we're going to have autonomous vehicles in the near future. The whole picture of what we do in a transportation setting is changing. But to me, one of the most important things we can focus on, and we have to focus on, is the infrastructure of our towns. We're the oldest area of the country, and our roads were built first. And as a result, these cow paths have become interstates. And so we've got some unique challenges, I think, in this area of the state, and certainly of this area of the country, on the infrastructure end.
Absolutely.
Well, Cathy may not know now. We're sort of digging up half a Stoneham, Mike. You would say there's the MBT, there's the MWRA water project,
Yep.
and then of course EverSource is coming in after that, which I think impacts
we have
us
that
as
problem
well.
too.
So
And here in Winchester, as I said earlier on the grunt work, we've been doing the flooding mitigation. So a lot of culvert work, a lot of this work that's going on underneath the ground that nobody really sees. But it's taken a lot, the bridges that we're in the process of knocking off. things that have been ignored or delayed for decades, really, now you're looking at and saying, we've got to take care of this stuff if we're going to continue to have our downtowns here. But I think the Chamber does and should play a very active role in how those get implemented.
Right.
So I certainly appreciate the roles that you do have in here. What, so how do folks get in touch with you? What should locals who aren't business owners know about the Chamber and how to support the Chamber?
I really appreciate that question, since we've just spent a substantial amount of time and money developing a new website. And so Winchester Chamber, info@winchesterchamber.com would be our email, winchesterchamber.com would be our website, and our office is open 5 days a week from 8:30 to 12:30. We would love to hear from any residents or business people or people that are thinking about opening a business. That what I think is our specialty, and we can help them go through, as you said, there are a lot of restrictions, and sometimes it's somewhat difficult to open a new business, but we can help with that. We also have a Welcome to Winchester bag, where we deliver these bags to anybody who's bought a home, and in that bag are all kinds of information and coupons from our present members, so it's a nice welcome way to introduce people to Winchester. And I just want to say, I know we're wrapping up, but Michael, it's so wonderful to have somebody like you in this office. You are so accessible, as is Jason Lewis, and to have your interest in the business community is really, really such an advantage. So thank you.
It's very kind of you to say, thanks. And
It's
you're
true.
located at the Waterfield lot currently.
Yes, momentarily.
Well, I'll echo what Cathy said, Mike. It's, we've seen you at a lot of evening events, and I don't know how you get to all of them, but certainly we appreciate that. Like Winchester, we have an incredible executive director in Jennifer Welter.
She's marvelous.
She's marvelous. She really is. I don't know how she gets everything done that she needs to get done. She can be easily reached. We're at, I think she's at 438-0001, I think 781, or through our website, which is stonehamchamber.org, and she'd be happy to sit down with anyone. I think we'll steal the idea about the welcome package. I like that. If you've got anything else, you should go out for beers after. So that's the easiest way, is probably through the website. But Jennifer is, she's fantastic and would talk to anyone.
And you're located right on Main Street.
We are. We're at 335 Main Street in the old Heritage Building, directly across from the Town Common. So a great location with parking in the back, too.
Yeah, and I want to thank both of you for, not only for appearing today and slogging through this with me, but for the work that the Chamber does. I know that the Chamber is, people think of the business community and all they're doing is complaining about taxes and whatnot, and it's not at all. I mean, the involvement that you as local business owners, as well as the Chamber director, has in our community can't be overstated. From the Winchester, Citizen of the Year dinner that you put on every year annually, to the downtown decorations, to what we're doing over in Stoneham as well. It's an essential part of our community, and I just want to say thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you,
Thank
Mike.
you.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks.
We don't need to look any further than to our own Chamber of Commerce for evidence of the terrific charitable and community service our local businesses contribute to our town. Small businesses donate more than twice as much per sales dollar to local nonprofits, events, and teams when compared to big businesses in our communities. Beyond the number of actual dollars that stay here locally as a result of their companies, small business owners are also more likely to do well by doing good. Small businesses provide defining characteristics and economic advantages to the towns in which they are located. They strengthen partnerships in our neighborhoods, between our residents, and in our schools by offering terrific social and economic relationships. In addition to these benefits, small businesses are vitally important to the fabric of our economy. They account for more than 90% of the number of companies here in Massachusetts, and they employ nearly 1.5 million workers, accounting for about 46% of the state's private workforce. Our local businesses do an amazing job of expanding the local workforce and filling their customers' needs. However, many small business owners encounter very costly challenges in finding, training, and retaining their workforce. Our youth labor workforce is an important part of this puzzle for small business owners. The percentage of youth labor working in the summertime reached 77.5% in 1989. Last summer, that figure is estimated to be down to 53.2%. While there are many factors that may play into fewer teenagers and young adults working in summertime jobs, the facts show that young adults with even part-time employment or summertime jobs develop critical interpersonal skills, have greater academic aspirations, and feel more connected to the community than those who do not. This is one of the reasons I filed H3138, an act establishing a youth employment trust fund. Teens and young adults play a big role in our economy. Those with jobs have more disposable cash, and they tend to spend that cash locally. However, when a young adult is unable to find a job, there's a negative ripple effect that continues for decades. H3138 attempts to address the precipitous drop in youth employment rates, including summertime jobs, by establishing a youth training and employment program to be funded with a percentage of tax revenues realized from upcoming recreational marijuana sales. The youth employment program would provide funds to municipalities, agencies, and businesses for the training and hiring of local youth, as well as offer a modest subsidy to private businesses, municipalities, or agencies to incentivize the hiring and training of young adults. To qualify for this subsidy toward the youth's paycheck, the employer would need to provide substantive job training to the youth. The goal of this fund is to encourage employers to take a chance on hiring a young person, while also providing that young person with skills and a work ethic that will last a lifetime. I recently testified at the State House in favor of this bill, and I look forward to working with various stakeholders to address their concerns and make this proposal law. I'll continue to do my part to help our small and local businesses, and I encourage all those watching to support these anchors of our communities by shopping local. Each dollar you spend at independent businesses in our towns returns 3 times more money to our local economy than one spent at a chain. And the return on a dollar spent locally is almost 50 times more than we generate when buying from an online mega retailer. Put simply, the multiplier effect created by spending locally generates a lasting and positive impact on the prosperity of local organizations and residents. I'd like to thank Chris Senna from the Stoneham Chamber of Commerce and Cathy Alexander from the Winchester Chamber of Commerce for joining me on today's episode. And thank you to WinCam for once again offering this show, and for the work of Anthony Gameri, Melody Wing, David Gauthier, and Suzette Ferdinand.